This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My guest this hour is William Barnes. We're going to be talking to William about the Falcon Project. Now, the Falcon Project is a group of volunteers who are planning surveillance by air in a custom-made airship to find and film the elusive nocturnal North American ape, which some people call Sasquatch and Bigfoot. The dual airship currently being built is the only one of its kind, and the camera system being used employs the latest thermal imaging technology to date. Now, X-Zone Nation, among those who have volunteered to help research, build, and provide on-the-ground assistance are retired foresters, military people, scientists with PhDs, Border Patrol agents, college students, hominid researchers, law enforcement, Native Americans, and common people who are very interested in this subject. Almost all of these people have had accidental encounters with these magnificent creatures and have waited a lifetime to see another one. One of the many technologies that will be employed is groundbreaking infrared equipment that will enable the people of the Falcon Project to record sounds made by the ape that are inaudible by human ears. Once they record these infrared sounds, they will be able to use this in all areas of research to know whether or not these creatures are present in any particular areas. Joining me now is William Barnes. He is with the Falcon Project. The website is X-Zone Nation. You ready for this? You got your pens and paper? www.bigfoot24-7.com. And William, welcome to the X-Zone.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on your show.
It's great having you with us, William. Now, one of the many things that you're doing with the Falcon Project is trying to break away from the stigma attached to this hominid creature by changing it from Bigfoot Sasquatch to what?
North American ape hominoid.
And why are you doing this?
Go ahead.
Why are you doing this?
Well, trying to get away from the word Bigfoot. It's more like a scam magazine name. You know, people hear Bigfoot, here it goes again. We want to do this more scientifically and treat it as scientific research, not as a hoax or anything like that that's happened in the past.
So I would imagine you want to break it away from the people like Tom Biscardi.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah. Tom's not the worst guy in the world. He's just a show person. But his ethics sometimes are not that great when he does certain things. So, and you know, we're just trying to get away from the whole research and do it different ways. What we're doing.
All right, William, stand by. You and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. We'll be right back. X-Zone Nation. William Barnes is our special guest. We're talking about the Falcon Project. The website, www.bigfoot24-7.com. William and I will be back on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break talking about the Falcon Project as the X-Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
1-800-610-7035 is toll-free worldwide. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Don't forget, the X Zone store is wide open. We have merchandise there from the X Zone Radio Show, the X Chronicles newspaper, and Power Gators TV. Once again, the website for the X Zone store is www.xzonestore.com. William Barnes is our special guest. We're talking about the Falcon Project. But before we get back to the Falcon Project, where does your interest in the American ape come from?
Well, I was a gold miner for years, still am sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I spent like 5 total years out in the wilderness mining, mostly by myself, and I was in a canyon waiting for my equipment to be hauled in from a friend of mine, dredging equipment, and put up just a pup tent, not even big enough to sleep in hardly.
Mm-hmm.
And went to sleep about 1, 2 in the morning. It had to be after midnight, that's for sure. I heard this ruckus around the corner of the canyon. It was like a barrel canyon. And it's in the ancient riverbed where they did hydraulic things from the 1800 gold mining days. And if you walk down the side of the hill there, you'll just hear rocks just roll down by the hundreds, and
mm-hmm.
that's what I was hearing. And it was dark. Had no flashlight, no gun. And first thing I noticed was back in the corner, I could see this black thing wandering in a canyon. And if it wasn't for the white quartz rocks that the ancient riverbeds held, I would never seen anything. And basically what it did, it just wandered down the canyon. It wasn't in no particular direction, just wandering around. And my car was parked catty corner to my tent, and about 30, 40 feet from the car, it walked to my left. And I noticed it was a lot higher than the hood of my car. It's a pretty good-sized creature, a bear. First I thought it was a bear. But when I got up to the car and went to the right, it took a beeline right straight to the tent. So I'm just sitting there looking at this thing, just walking up to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it walks right up to the tent, stands there for... I really can't tell you how long because time froze. My heart was beating so hard that I could hear it in my eardrums. And I could see this figure just standing there. And then it turned sideways And that's when I realized that this thing was big. I mean, it went from 300 pounds to at least 500 pounds. It was so thick.
Holy cow.
And it was wide. I mean, a third wider than me. I'm a lanky boy.
Mm-hmm.
And but my full attention went to, when it turned sideways to walk across the creek up the hill, how thick it really was. I mean, it was like one of those guys you see on Venice Beach. It's just solid muscle all the way around. And it was quite interesting. Very interesting.
And that was it?
Go ahead.
And that was it? You were hooked?
Well, actually, I just sat there for about 40 minutes, calmed myself down, because the thing already walked upside the hill and gone.
Holy cow.
And the first thing I realized was there was no threat. I mean, no threat at all. Mm-hmm. And what really got me was when it did turn sideways. At first I thought it was bent over looking at me, but when it turned sideways, it had a natural bend to it, natural slope to it. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it walked away. So it didn't actually come up and bend down and look at me. That's actually the way it is, the way it walked. So years I didn't tell nobody, but I did a lot of research. I told one person in 4 years, and he was pretty passive of me, made me feel good about it, and didn't ridicule me or nothing. So I kept on doing a lot of research, reading what the other research people do, and why it cannot be filmed. Because they're out there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And some guys go out there for 30, 40 years and never see one.
Right.
And I have to look at it from the outside, from what they're doing, not copy what they're doing, because they never really get anywhere. There's plenty of footage out there, but it's never very long, and you don't know if it's real or fake.
Well, speaking about that, you said a few minutes ago, nobody's gotten any film of it. What about the Patterson film? Do you think that's legitimate or that's hoaxed?
I meant good filming.
So tell me, do you think the Patterson film is legitimate or is it hoaxed?
Well, if it is a hoax, they knew what it looked like. So I'd rather say the thickness of it and how thick it was. Mm-hmm. It's hard to compare mine at nighttime to theirs at daylight.
Right.
But I can say the size of it, the thickness, and the neck is almost 99%.
All right. What sets your research apart from other researchers?
Well, we're going technology all the way this time. We're not going to be on the ground. Mm-hmm. The airship is a dual airship, never been on the market before. Prototype's being built right now in Canada, and it's 35 foot long, and the filming platform, state of the art, completely hand built. I can see the camera system I'm using. I can see you a mile away in pitch black dark. So I have a range that most people don't have on the ground.
Right.
So once I find one, I can track it from the air, because I can go up to 7,000 feet high with this. It's being custom made for that range. Mm-hmm. So the higher you are, the more land you can cover. Plus I have a 10-mile range with the remote control airship. So this way, I can cover a lot of land every night. I can fly about 9 hours a night. That's the refuel. One time I got a 5-hour fuel system. And the camera system took a while to figure that out, to go over 5 miles and have a clear reception. Just got that done. And the challenge I believe I'm going to have is how close can I get to these things to be able to film them.
Right.
And that's the reason the camera system goes from 30 millimeter to 100 millimeter, and that is all controlled by hand. So I can get really close-up images once I find what I'm looking for. And the good thing is the airship is so maneuverable. I can spin it on a dime. You don't have to go in a complete circle to make a U-turn. I can turn it. It has no propellers. It's all propulsion, patent propulsion. and I can stop it. I can set it right where it's at, and I can stay there, even up to 25-mile-an-hour wind. It's
All right.
made for the...
How are you going to be able to tell the difference between a camper and Bigfoot?
Well, that's the learning thing about this. If you've never done this before, you definitely have to learn what you're doing. Now,
I would imagine you're going to have to take it out for test trials before you actually commence your research.
Oh yeah, it's going to be. Well, I have a volunteer in Virginia. He works for the military, FBI. He's the one that built the I Gotcha trail cam that's buried underground, where the sound of the unit can't be heard by anything. And he has a special chip that I can put in my camera system that color codes every animal. Even a deer and a bear will be different colors.
But will a human and Bigfoot be different colors?
It would have to be, yes.
But how are you going to do that if you don't know the biological makeup of Bigfoot?
Well, this is the way I think it'll work, just theory, is that if I find something way out in the middle of nowhere, I'm sure the odds of it being a person are very, very low. It's not going to be a person. But if it is, the lenses I have, I can almost read a license plate 3/4 of a mile away.
So who's funding this project?
Well, we're just starting to get funding from a nonprofit organization, and I have to put money into it, but we are still seeking funding. It's very expensive.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, we're talking $100,000 just for the equipment. And the infrasound is new. That's being built right now. This way, once we collect the sound that this creature makes, we can use it in other areas, and hopefully it will return a sound.
All right, here's a hypothetical question for you, all right?
Okay.
Please don't take this the wrong way.
Go ahead.
What happens 2 years from now? No fines.
I just keep going.
Why? What's driving you? What is so important to some people about discovering what Bigfoot is?
Well, it's not important. That's not the idea of staying out there and just keep doing it. It's the idea that I personally seen one close enough where I could touch it, so I know they're real. And
but isn't that good enough? You know it's real. Why do you have to prove it to other people?
Why do I have to prove it to other people?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people have theories of what it is.
Okay, hold that thought. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, I'd like to hear what your theory is about this creature. Okay. William Barnes is our special guest, X-Zone Nation. I love his enthusiasm. His website is www.bigfoot24-7.com, and we're talking about the Falcon Project. Once again, his website is www.bigfoot24-7.com. If you'd like to be one of the people who help financially, I'm sure that there's a way on his website to contact him. In fact, we'll ask him on the other side of the news how people can contact him if they'd like to help him financially. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. We're coming to you live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and on Star Cable. Don't go away. We'll be back right after this break.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
William Barnes is our special guest this hour, Exo Nation. www.bigfoot24-7.com. And we're talking about the Falcon Project. First of all, Bill, if people would like to contact you and get financially involved with the project or become a volunteer, how can they do that?
On my website, I have a contact button. There's an email and phone number. They can call me directly if they want.
Excellent. And that's at www.bigfoot24-7.com. Bill, what is your theory about the nature of the North American ape?
Well, mine are just theories, but the strange thing that really bothers me are the hands and the feet. And it's like, it's too coincidental that it's almost like human-like. And I do want to tell you, when I saw this thing walking through the canyon, it didn't walk like a human, or it didn't walk like an ape, because apes usually don't walk like that. And the human aspect is because it stands up. And I don't think it's a human of any type. I think it's I have to refer back to the Bible. I use that as a reference guide to almost anything in the world usually. And there is a place there it says there were hairy beasts fighting side by side. And if it's mentioned there's probably some truth to it, because a lot of stuff in the Bible is true. And I'm sure some of it has been twisted because of mankind, the way they write things, but that part has always been there. So I really think it's more of an ape. I seen an ape when it turned sideways. That's what I saw as an ape.
Is it possible? Is it possible what you saw may have been an escaped circus ape?
No. Not walking on 2 feet.
Interesting. Tell me, what is your ultimate goal if you should actually find and film the North American ape?
Education. Educate people about what this is out there living in our forest.
But don't you think once it's established that it actually does exist, that this will just cause more and more people to want to capture it, whether it's a live capture or a dead capture?
Well, I don't think so, because I think they can take care of themselves. Look how well they've done it so far. You don't have to put no reserves out for them. The only thing I want to point out is that after the footage is done, we do want to have protection in all states on no-kill zone.
But do you actually think that they will just put out protection on a non, let me phrase this the right way, on simply film footage and actually not the actual species itself?
Well, the camera system we're using is so high resolution that there won't be no mistake what we're looking at.
But with today's technology, anything can be manipulated, through computer technology. So how will the government know? How will the people know, those in power actually know that what they're seeing is an actual Bigfoot and not something created by CGI?
Well, you're probably 100% right there, but my goal is 45 minutes of filming. And if I can get 45 minutes of filming of different different creatures, and very close up, it's the movements they make that the scientists can decide on their own if this is real or fake.
But what makes this so different here, where you're going to take this film and then you're going to expect the scientific community, without actually seeing a body, without actually seeing a specimen, to give it a classification, and then expect the government to go head over heels to create a protection for an animal that hasn't been actually identified?
Well, actually, it's already been protected in Northern California, Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia.
But don't you think the government has a lot more pressing issues on their plate right now than to protect a mythical species?
All it is a signature. So this whole thing is to show people these things do exist. I mean, I've probably read every knowledgeable sighting over the last 12 and a half years, and it's just unbelievable. And also personal sightings from miners that live out in the wilderness. Now, those are the ones that really get me. I mean, it's just these guys live out there 24/7, and about 30% of them have encounters in Northern California, the ones I've talked to. So I've heard such close-up encounters describing this creature that, there's no way that it's not real. I know what I saw. I know Jason. I know he saw the same thing. And Williams, Mr. Williams in Virginia, Bigfoot Research.net, he had an encounter in Virginia with two other people that worked for the government that ran right across in front of him. So, these things live in almost every state in the United States, except for Hawaii and Long Island, I guess, and Rhode Island. But the creature is real. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this if I had any doubt in my mind, I wouldn't be doing this.
Oh, all right, but you see, what I'm trying to get at here, and please don't take me wrong, is that you're basing the entire scenario on a film. Why not actually try to do a live capture of it?
Well, that's not my category. My category is just to film it. I don't think they need to be bothered.
All right, now, okay, so then why try and prove their existence? Because all that's going to do is drive people to try and capture them.
I don't think they can catch. Only way they're going to capture one is shoot one.
And that's exactly why the can of worms you just might be opening up.
Well, not true, because if you read on encounters by hunters, there's many a times they've had their sights or scopes on one, and when they see the head feature and body feature, they pull the gun down. And because most hunters are not out there to shoot humans.
But we're not talking about the educated hunters at this point. We're talking about the people,
country boys.
We're just talking about people who would just like to bring a Bigfoot down because now they know they exist.
Well, I believe people know they exist, and in fact, we have a group in Northern California that actually go out and hunt for it. But the problem is, when you're in the woods, you're the one being hunted. And that's the problem with these things. These things know you're there, and you are prey to them at any time. That's how what kind of word put it, graceful these things are. And they can be around you all night and never see it, but you can hear them. But
all right, let me ask you this question.
The odds of a hunter going out hunting for one is slim to none.
All right, you're using high-tech technology to try and prove their existence. You prove it. All it takes is someone else with high-tech technology to go out, use it as a hunting aid, and bring one down.
Well, I can give you plenty of stories where Green Beret people, military people went out there hunting for it for months at a time and come back with nothing.
Maybe it doesn't exist.
It does exist.
Then how come there's never been a cadaver found? How come there's never been one found on the side of the road that's been hit by a truck?
By a car.
There's so many questions pertaining to it.
Well,
how come?
Theory-wise, the ones that people do see along the side of the road are usually juveniles, and every once in a while an adult. But the juveniles move around more. They're more playful or more imagination. I guess as they grow up and get older, the elders probably teach them, this is not what you do. And yes, they have been hit by cars. One in Arkansas, they couldn't track it down with the dogs. It kept being 20, 30 feet ahead and going into the swamp. Highway 5, 12, 13 cars. One was a county county police with 2 policemen in it.
Yeah.
They seen it run right into the side of a truck and keep running across the road, and 2 days later, it comes back across. Same thing happens, but it didn't touch anything. But there was like 15 cars that time. So I can't explain why one hasn't been ran over and killed. I can say they've been hit before and maybe died out in the woods someplace.
Then how come no body of a Bigfoot has ever been found?
Well, you go kill a cow and stick it out in the woods, come back a month later, and you'll see you won't hardly have anything.
Something doesn't make sense here with this entire Bigfoot scenario.
It sure doesn't.
Something really doesn't make sense. Now, here's a question based on your own explanations over the past, 45 minutes of how smart Bigfoot is.
Uh-huh.
How do you think you're going to be able to outsmart Bigfoot?
Well, I'm taking the human factor out. I'm becoming the hunter now. And
but wait a sec. You're saying you're taking the human factor out. You're becoming the hunter now. That makes no sense.
Yes. What do you mean? That makes no sense. If you're on the ground, you become the prey. And if you're in the air, you become the hunter. You understand what I'm trying to say?
So you're saying because you're going to be using an airship, you have the advantage?
I have a big advantage. I can cover about 35, 40 square miles a night. I can actually stay far away from them, not to bother them, because planes have been going over for 100 years over these areas, so I don't know what they react to, but I think they freeze when something comes over, but even if they do, I'll see them in thermal imaging.
So why just at night then? Why can't you do this during the day?
Because the thermal imaging lights up everything at night.
But if you use infrared, it would do the same thing during the day.
I like the thermal imaging.
So it's your preference.
Yeah, well, the thing of it is, if I do run across one early morning, I will stay with it until daylight, or as long as I can. But I have a better chance at nighttime.
Why?
With thermal imaging.
Why?
Because of the programming that we're going to be using that colors every creature a different color. Even a raccoon or a squirrel or a deer or a bear will come up a different color.
How does this programming work that will identify something and give it its own color coding?
I don't know exactly how it works, because I'm not a technician on electronics. But this guy in Virginia invented this piece for the people in Afghanistan war. And what it does, it color codes everything. Even a deer, like a deer will show up, mostly deer, but around the head there will be a red spot and a dark spot around the head. On a bear, most of the body will come up red. On a squirrel, the whole thing will come up red.
Have you actually seen this program work?
Oh yeah. I know the guy that built it.
No, that's what I was asking. Right? Have you actually seen it work, where it's been used to identify different animals?
Yeah, he uses it in Virginia.
Okay.
He's the one that developed it. And
now,
he's the one that
now because you're going to be hunting Bigfoot, because you're now the hunter, it's the prey. Are you going to have to get government approval?
FAA approval.
Well, what about the forestry department? What about the people whose land you're going over?
And this is how it works. The FAA, I'll start out with them, is giving me a pass because it's an unmanned vehicle. Now, since I'm filming and doing a documentary, this is where I get my pass from. And I can't be within 5 miles of an airport.
All right. Now, you say you're doing a documentary. Which network is funding it?
No network. We are.
So what you're trying to do is establish a documentary and hoping by filming Bigfoot you'll be able to sell the footage.
Well, no, we're going to do the documentary ourselves. We're not going to sell it. Then we'll have to. I have a marketing person for me that it's in this field. So it's going to come down to is education. That's my main goal.
Are you going to be selling this film, or are you going to be giving it to the public?
Well, if there's money involved, I'm sure I'm going to get paid like I'm going to pay everybody else for the work they do.
All right. So you're doing this to make money.
I'm doing this to prove it's real, and if there's money involved, of course, I'm not going to be dumb about it. Yeah.
Well, that's not being dumb. What you're doing here is you're saying, well, the reason I'm doing this is to make money.
Not true.
So then why are you going to be taking money if you're not doing this to make money?
Here's what happened in the beginning. I didn't know there was money in this when I started my project.
Really?
Okay, no, I wasn't looking for money. I was looking just to film it. That's all I was looking for, make a documentary. Come to find out, the value of it is unbelievable.
Here comes follow the money, and you always get to the root of it. That's my motto.
Well, the thing of it is, if there was no money involved, I would have done it anyway.
So why don't you do the film, and if you get it, give it to the world instead of selling it?
I'd probably set up a foundation for them to use it for education if I did it that way.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our final break. X-Zone Nation. William Barnes is his name. Hunting for Bigfoot is his game. His website is www.bigfoot24-7.com. That's www.bigfoot24-7.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X-Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. X-Zone Nation, William Barnes is our guest this hour. He is the gentleman in charge of the Falcon Project. Their website is www.bigfoot24-7.com. That's www.bigfoot24-7.com. Bill, you and I were talking off air, and how much is the film going to be worth for 1 minute?
Well, from marketing aspect, $500,000.
So if you're looking at doing a 40-minute film, you're looking at making, you could make, if you're actually successful, a considerable amount of money.
That's very possible.
And does that play into your plans now? And I'm sure it must work for the people that are going to invest. Do you give them a certain percentage of the final take?
Well, basically, I want to go back to the education part if I get the footage, and also research equipment for other researchers out of my own funding, if this all goes through.
So, wait a second. Why? If you're actually going to establish the existence of Bigfoot, why would other people need to research it anymore?
Because it's a very unique creature.
So what you're doing is you're opening up a can of worms, proving something exists, and making it an easy target for people.
Not an easy target on the ground.
Well, so what would stop other people from getting an air balloon or an aircraft like you're using and doing the same thing?
I'm the North American dealer.
Oh, big deal. So somebody else comes up with a patent that deviates and they get their own patent and they can make their own stuff.
Well, they can do what they want. I'm not arguing to stop anybody, but I do want to educate people, and I do want to fund researchers, because that's the worst thing I've noticed in 12 years of research is that every researcher I know, except for Moneymaker, is underfunded.
Well, wait a sec. If you're looking at making $500,000 a minute, and you're looking at a 40-minute film, doesn't that make you a moneymaker now?
No.
What makes you different?
It makes me different because I want to put money back into it.
But in order for you to put money into it, you're going to have to find the creature and prove it exists.
Yes, once I prove it exists, at least I'll have funding to help other researchers.
But you've already made the discovery, so that makes no sense.
Well, other people might want to look at it too, in the wild, in its own habitat, in a safe habitat. Not chase it down and stick needles in it and stuff, just to be able to see it. I mean, it's just a magnificent creature. It's just like the apes in Africa, 1924, I believe. Nobody knew they existed.
Bill, we've got to say so long for now. We've just run out of time. Bill Barnes has been our guest this hour. I hope he does not find Bigfoot, because I think it's going to open up a door that will lead to the extermination of Bigfoot. Government protection means nothing because it's called poaching. This ought to be interesting to watch, gang. Until tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone. Thank you for listening no matter where you are around the world. It's great here sitting in the captain's chair of the X-Zone Nation. So until tomorrow night, take care of each other, love each other, and always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. And watch out, Bigfoot. William Barnes is coming.